Welcome to Dark Mysteries of Asia, where we delve into some of the most perplexing and haunting cases from across the continent. I'm your host, Michael Chen. Today, we're exploring one of South Korea's most notorious unsolved crimes, the case of the Frog Boys, a tragedy that began on a spring day in 1991 and continues to haunt the nation to this day. March 26, 1991, a public holiday in South Korea. It was a day of national significance, the country's first local elections in 30 years since the fall of the military dictatorship. But for 5 families in Daegu, it would become a day marked by an unimaginable nightmare. 5 young boys, Kim Jong-sik, age 11, Jo Ho-yeon, age 12, Kim Yong-yu, age 11, Park Chan-in, age 10, and Woo Chel-won, age 13, left their homes in the Dalso district of Daegu that morning. Their destination? Mount Warryong, a hill close to their neighborhood. Their mission? A common springtime activity, hunting for salamander eggs in the streams. They told their parents they would return soon. Woo Chel-won returned briefly to grab a thicker jacket. When his father asked where he was going, he simply replied that he was going to play outside. It was around 9 a.m. That would be the last time any of the parents would see their sons alive. By afternoon, the alarm was raised. Woo's father received a call from the Taekwondo Academy at around 1 p.m., reporting that his son had not attended his scheduled lesson. Soon after, the horrifying realization spread among the 5 families. All their boys were missing. A friend of the boys provided a crucial clue. He had seen them earlier and asked where they were going. Their reply? To find lizard eggs. With this information, the parents' search began on Mount Warryong. The mountain had an army base on the left, a pond on the right, and a shooting range above the pond. Terrain the boys knew well. But there was no sign of the children. What followed was shocking. In a country gripped by election fever, the police initially dismissed the case as simple runaways. The boys' disappearance was barely a blip on the national radar. The police even distributed pamphlets referring to the children as runaways, suggesting they were trying to wrap up the case quickly without proper investigation. But the parents refused to accept this. Their determined advocacy eventually caught national attention. The case became known as the Frog Boys after a news broadcast referred to them as 5 boys still missing after trying to catch frogs. The name stuck, and within a week it became nationwide news. Even President Roh Tae-woo made a statement and ordered a thorough investigation. What followed was one of the largest search efforts in South Korean history. Thousands were mobilized. Police, military personnel, and civilian volunteers scoured Mount Warryong. For a year, the mountain was combed, with volunteers forming lines to probe the undergrowth as they moved forward. But no trace of the children was found. The 5 fathers, determined to find their sons, quit their jobs. They rented a small lorry with photos of their children pasted on the sides, and the words, "Please help find our missing children," written below. They traveled across the country, handing out pamphlets in public places, desperately seeking any lead, any clue to their children's whereabouts. There were unsettling elements to the case from the beginning. One friend of the boys reported hearing a gunshot and then a scream from the direction of Mount Warryong on the day the children disappeared. This led to speculation about possible military involvement, given the proximity of an army base and shooting range, but the police did not treat this as serious evidence. The case took a bizarre turn when, during a live broadcast of a news program called The Square of Public Opinions, where the parents expressed their dissatisfaction with the investigation, a phone call came in. The telephone operator claimed it was from Jong-sik, one of the missing boys, sobbing and asking for his mother. Hope flared briefly, only to be extinguished when it was revealed to be a cruel prank. As the years passed, the public's interest waned. The parents found themselves increasingly alone in their quest for answers. Some turned to alcohol to cope with their grief. Others became dependent on sleeping pills. Their nationwide search had led them into debt, and eventually they had to return to work to support their remaining family members. Then, on September 26, 2002, over 11 years after their disappearance, the devastating truth was finally revealed. Two men scavenging for acorns on Mount Warriong discovered human remains. They were the 5 frog boys, found in an area that had reportedly been previously searched during the initial investigation. Initially, the police claimed the boys had died from hypothermia, suggesting they got lost in the chilly March weather. But the parents rejected this conclusion, pointing out suspicious elements. One boy's clothes had been tied in knots, unused bullets discovered in his clothes, and the bodies were found a short distance from a nearby village the boys knew well. Under pressure from the families, forensic experts conducted a more thorough examination. What they found chilled the nation to its core. 3 of the 5 boys had suffered blunt force trauma to their skulls, possibly from metal farming tools. 2 bullet holes were discovered in one child's skull. This wasn't a tragic accident, it was murder. The discovery triggered renewed investigation, but the trail had gone cold over the decade of neglect. Multiple theories emerged. Some believed the boys had been accidentally killed during military training exercises, and their deaths covered up. Others suggested they might have witnessed something they shouldn't have. Psychological profilers proposed the perpetrator was likely someone who knew both the boys and the local terrain well. In 2006, the South Korean statute of limitations for murder, which was then 15 years, expired for this case. It seemed justice would never be served for the Frog Boys. However, public pressure, partly inspired by this very case, led to the abolition of the statute of limitations for murder in South Korea in 2015. This opened the possibility of criminal charges if a suspect is ever identified. In 2021, on the 30th anniversary of their disappearance, the city of Daegu installed a memorial monument near the location where they were found. It's called the Frog Boy Memorial and Children's Safety Prayer Monument. The Daegu police also announced a new task force to review the case from the beginning. The case of the Frog Boys has had a profound impact on South Korean society. It led to improved child safety protocols and changes in law enforcement procedures for missing persons. It's been the subject of 2 films, songs, and documentaries, ensuring the memory of these 5 young lives is not forgotten. But perhaps the most intriguing update came in late 2025, when reports emerged that police had identified a suspect in the case. Woo Jong-woo, the father of Woo Chel-won, told the press he had heard from police that they had a lead, more than 20 years after his son's remains were discovered. So what really happened to the 5 boys on that spring day in 1991? The most plausible theory suggests they stumbled upon something or someone they shouldn't have. Did they witness illegal activity near the military grounds? Did they encounter a disturbed individual who reacted violently to their presence? We may never know the full truth. There are those who believe the case involves a deeper conspiracy. The intelligence agency's surveillance of the grieving parents raises eyebrows. Why were these families treated with suspicion instead of compassion? Why was the military connection never thoroughly investigated? These questions continue to fuel speculation decades later. What makes this case particularly heartbreaking is the communal nature of the tragedy. These weren't 5 random children who disappeared separately. They were, as Woo's father described them, like 5 musketeers, a tight-knit group of friends from the same village, whose houses formed a circle around a paddy field where they often played. The loss devastated not just 5 individual families, but an entire community. The Frog Boys case stands as a stark reminder of the failings of early 1990s South Korean law enforcement, the devastating impact of procedural negligence in missing persons cases, and the extraordinary resilience of parents fighting for justice for their children. It's a case that demonstrates how initial assumptions and institutional indifference can derail an investigation from the start. As we conclude today's episode, I want to remember the names of these 5 boys whose lives were cut tragically short: Kim Jong-sik, Jo Ho-yeon, Kim Yong-gyu, Park Chan-in, and Woo Chel-won. Though their case remains officially unsolved, their story continues to resonate, reminding us of the importance of protecting the most vulnerable members of our society and the need for diligence and compassion in pursuing justice. I'm Michael Chen, and you've been listening to Dark Mysteries of Asia. If you found this story compelling, please share it with others. The memory of the Frog Boys deserves to live on, not just as a tragic footnote in South Korean history, but as a catalyst for continued vigilance and improvement in how we protect our children. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, some mysteries may never be fully solved, but that doesn't mean we should ever stop seeking the truth.